There is a reason that nice guys always try and give their love to the worst kinds of women who almost always never want them back. The women who are cold, who are distant, who are volatile and inconsistent. And the reason why he always and almost unconsciously goes for these types of girls is because he carries shame. He feels inadequate. He feels like he isn't good enough. And as a result, he goes for women who really fit two criteria. The first is that they are difficult to get. And the second is that they need fixing. So the question is, why does he go for these types of girls? Why is it a pattern for him? And the reason actually comes back to his childhood and more specifically to the relationship that he had with his mum. More specifically, he had a mum who neglected him or who constantly got angry at him, who blamed him, who criticized him, or who showed him conditional love. And it was all of these different traits that she represented that caused him to take on the identity of someone who was unworthy, who was unlovable, and who is not good enough. And as a result, he took on the identity of the good boy because he believed that he had to earn any kind of love that he was going to get from his mom, which is why he took on the identity of the helper and the fixer and the pleaser. He became avoidant of conflict and he learned that love had to be earned. And what you'll see through all of this is that this identity shaped his map of relationships. He believed that it was totally normal to be neglected, to have your partner be angry at you, to be blamed and criticized and be shown conditional love. And in response, what did you have to do? Well, you had to use your default survival strategies of being the good boy, the helper, the fixer, the pleaser, avoiding conflict and trying to earn love. Because again, fundamentally, there is some part of you that believes that you are not worthy of love. And the only time as a kid that you got even glimpses of feeling worthy of love was when you just demonstrated all of these people-pleasing and nice guy traits. And so if we bring this back to his relationships as an adult, his nervous system is wired to expect and even seek out these negative traits. And also he has this unconscious belief that love should be difficult to get and it should also involve some kind of fixing. And he believes that because she needs fixing, perhaps he'll be good enough for her because he wouldn't be good enough for someone who is already healed and healthy. And so he runs this pattern over and over and over again, becoming attached to people who are not good for him, getting his heart broken, and then repeating the cycle, further reinforcing his sense of shame and that sense that he is inadequate and not worthy of love. So what is the path out of all of this? Well, most importantly, the first path out is to start setting boundaries. And boundaries are really just filters around what is acceptable and what is unacceptable behavior. And the value in this is twofold. Firstly, if he is already in a relationship with someone who has these different traits and is constantly projecting those negative traits at him, then he's going to be able to start to communicate that he's not going to tolerate those behaviors. And furthermore, if those behaviors are present, that he's going to remove himself from that dynamic. And nice guys find this really difficult. And the reason for that is because they unconsciously believe that they deserve that behavior because, again, they carry that shame. And of course, it all feels familiar to them in their nervous system based on their own childhood experiences. But if a nice guy is ever to find himself in a healthy and loving relationship, he has to set boundaries because it is his tendency and his proclivity not to set boundaries and instead to tolerate poor behavior. But I think what the most important part of this is that, again, boundaries act as a kind of filter, which means that as he's dating different girls, he can very quickly realize who are the types of girls that he would actually be willing to commit to based on those who do or don't display those acceptable or unacceptable behaviors. And if they do possess those unacceptable behaviors, then of course he can filter them out. But it also allows him to improve his own partner selection. And arguably for nice guys, this is one of the most important things to get right because they will very easily fall into relationships with the worst kinds of women. And that's a very dangerous place to find yourself in. But if he can get this right, then his entire life is going to become a hell of a lot easier. And that all starts by having boundaries and standards for, again, what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. And that's not to say that the right kind of person won't slip up at times and maybe demonstrate some of these uglier behaviors. But the main thing that you have to look out for and focus on is if those behaviors present themselves and you do set a boundary, are the lessons from that mistake learned or are those behaviors and patterns repeated? Because if they're repeated, again, those are the types of people you want to filter out. But if that lesson is learned and those mistakes are not repeated and the boundary is adhered to and respected, then that's the type of person that you can very confidently commit to. Because again, they're adaptable and they learn from their mistakes. And those are the hallmarks of a good partner and someone who you can commit your life to. So fundamentally, if you're a nice guy, This is what you have to do. You have to learn how to set stronger boundaries, and you have to learn to look out for this pattern of looking for girls who are difficult and that need fixing and who represent all of these uglier traits that you probably experienced in your earlier years as a young boy. So that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. I'll leave my Instagram down below if you want more content just like this, but in shorter bite-sized pieces. And with that, I will see you in the next one.